you ever really, truly wondered what happens the second after we die? Today, we're not just going to guess. We're going to dive into one specific spiritual text that claims to have a detailed roadmap for the soul's incredible journey after it leaves the body. So let's get into it. I mean, it's the biggest question of all, isn't it? Every single culture, every person, has wondered about it. The text we're exploring today, well, it doesn't just wonder. It gives a surprisingly detailed play-by-play of what comes next. Okay, so the journey starts at a moment we all have to face. But to even begin to understand this path, you have to start with the core idea. The most essential part of you, your soul, doesn't actually end. It just starts a new chapter. Right, so the main idea is that the soul is timeless. It wasn't born with your body, and it doesn't die with your body. Think of your body as just a temporary car you're driving. The soul is the driver, and it simply moves on to its next phase. Okay, and this is where things get really fascinating. Kind of at this weird intersection of science and spirituality. You've probably heard of those old experiments where they tried to literally weigh the soul to prove it was a physical thing. Well, this text jumps right into that debate. Yeah, back in the early 1900s, a scientist claimed he measured a tiny loss of weight, about 21 grams, often misremembered as 65, right at the moment of death. His conclusion, that's gotta be the soul leaving the body. But according to the text we're looking at, he was measuring something. It just wasn't the soul. And here's the critical difference this text makes. The soul itself, it's weightless. It's pure consciousness. What does have a little bit of mass is something called the subtle body. You can think of it as a temporary, non-physical vehicle, a kind of ghost body that the soul uses right after it leaves its physical one. And check out this level of detail. The text claims the real weight isn't 65 grams, but somewhere closer to 20 or 25. And this is the most important part. This is not the soul's weight. It's the weight of that subtle body, which means it's still affected by physical forces, like gravity. And that tiny detail becomes a massive problem for the soul. So the soul has left the body. It should be free, right? Well, not so fast. In fact, it's about to face its first, and maybe its toughest, challenge, getting stuck right here in the earthly realm. Just take a second and really let this sink in. According to this source, a staggering 99% of souls don't move on. They don't go to some higher place. They get stuck, trapped right here in a subtle world that's bound to the physical world they just left. Only a tiny 1% manage to ascend. So, why? So why do so many souls get stuck? The text points to 4 big reasons. First, earthly attachments, all the love for family, home, your favorite things. Second, all those unfulfilled desires. Third, and this is a big one, just plain ignorance, not knowing what to do next. And finally, that physical anchor we talked about, Earth's gravity, literally pulling on that subtle body and holding it here. Now, the text we're analyzing makes a specific comparison here based on what a soul knew in life. It suggests that souls from traditions that talk about higher realms, or lokas, might actively try to journey toward them. In contrast, it says that souls from traditions focused on a final judgment day might just wait. They might hang around their grave, acting on their belief that they're supposed to wait to be collected. So if attachment and ignorance are the chains holding the soul back, then what's the key? The text is very clear about this. It's knowledge. Spiritual wisdom is the only tool that can cut the soul free. This quote is really the core of this entire philosophy. The journey after death isn't something that just happens to you. It's an active process, and the fuel for that whole process is the spiritual knowledge you work on while you're alive. And this table really shows how different the outcome can be. On one side, you have the ignorant soul. It just wanders around aimlessly, driven by its old habits, often sticking close to its former home for years. But the wise soul, it understands what's going on. It actively seeks out other knowledgeable souls so it can keep learning and prepare for the real journey ahead. Okay, so how does a wise soul actually pull this off? How does it break free from the literal and figurative pull of the earth? The source describes a very specific metaphysical process for this. The process is basically broken down into 4 steps. First, the soul generates spiritual energy by focusing on higher beings. Second, it consciously lets go of all those earthly desires, which literally makes its subtle body lighter. Third, gaining more knowledge is like a power-up, and all of this leads to the final step, the subtle body's composition actually changes, becoming so light and airy that it's no longer affected by Earth's gravity. And this conscious, deliberate effort, it has a name, Purshartham. It is the active work a soul has to do to achieve its own freedom and continue its journey upward. It's not a gift, it's an achievement. Once a soul finally overcomes Earth's pull, the real journey begins. And this isn't just a trip to heaven. We're talking about a cosmic voyage across universes to get back to the very source of its existence. The scale of this journey is just mind-boggling. After breaking free of the first 10 kilometers above Earth, the soul can reach Param Dham, which is the highest realm in our universe. But that's not even the end. The path can continue across galaxies, through other universes, on a voyage all the way back to its original creator. To complete this final leg of the journey and merge with the source, the soul has to achieve a specific state, Nirakari Sthiti, or the formless state. This means it has to shed all individuality, all ego, all form to become pure consciousness again, because only like can merge with like. And here's the final fundamental rule of this whole cosmic trip. It isn't random. According to this text, a soul can only return to its own specific creator. It's a journey home. The soul's entire cosmic history, its origin, is encoded within it, in a kind of spiritual layer. And the only key to unlock that information and find its way home is, once again, knowledge. And so, according to this roadmap of the afterlife, the soul's journey isn't a fixed thing. It's an adventure that's paved by the knowledge we seek and the attachments we're willing to release. Which leaves us with a final, really personal question. How are you preparing for your journey?